Folks, gather round, let's talk tariffs. In the simplest terms, a tariff is like a cover charge at the US border. It's a tax on goods coming in from other countries. Imagine Canada wants to sell us some delicious maple syrup. With a tariff, that syrup gets pricier. Maybe it stops some Americans from buying it, maybe they buy American instead. That's the idea anyway. It's supposed to protect American businesses. Now tariffs aren't new, they've been around since the days of powdered wigs and tricorn hats. Countries use them for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes it's to protect their own industries from foreign competition. Other times it's to raise money for the government. Think of it like this. Tariffs are a way for a country to say, if you want to sell your stuff here, you gotta pay a little extra. It can be a way to play hardball in international trade. But, like any game, there are winners and losers. And sometimes the game can get out of hand. That brings us to our main event tonight, folks. Donald Trump and his tariff tango. Hold on to your hats, folks, because Trump's unleashed a tariff tornado. He slapped new tariffs on goods coming from our neighbors to the north and south, Canada and Mexico, and he didn't forget about China. Oh no, he targeted them too. We're talking big numbers here, folks, the kind that would make even a billionaire blush. A whopping 25% tariff on almost everything coming from Mexico and Canada. That's like adding a quarter to every dollar you spend at the store, and for China, a 10% tariff. It might sound smaller, but trust me, it's still a lot of moolah. Now you might be wondering why. What's the big idea? Well, according to the Donald, it's all about making America great again, one tariff at a time. He says these tariffs will protect American jobs, boost our economy, and stick it to those countries who've been taking advantage of us. But hold your horses, folks. Not everyone's convinced this tariff tango is going to be a dance in the park. In fact, some folks are saying it could turn into a full-blown trade war. And that, my friends, would be about as much fun as a root canal without anesthesia. Trump sings a sweet tune about these tariffs, folks. He says they're the key to bringing back American jobs, particularly in manufacturing. Remember those factories that closed down, the ones that used to make everything from cars to clothes? Trump says tariffs will make it more expensive to import those goods, forcing companies to bring those jobs back to American soil. He paints a picture of bustling factories, smoke billowing from their chimneys, and happy American workers cashing fat paychecks. It's a vision straight out of a Norman Rockwell painting with a side of apple pie. According to Trump, these tariffs are our ticket to economic dominance. He believes they'll reduce our trade deficit, that pesky gap between how much we import and export. He claims they'll force other countries to play fair and stop manipulating their currencies. It's all part of his America First agenda, putting American interests front and center on the world stage. But before you start humming God Bless America and polishing your Made in the USA belt buckle, let's hear what the other side has to say. Because folks, the economy is a complicated beast. And sometimes, what seems like a good idea on paper can backfire faster than a squirrel in a fireworks factory. Now, while Trump's busy tooting his own horn about the wonders of tariffs, a whole chorus of economists are singing a different tune. And it's not exactly music to our ears. They're waving red flags, warning that these tariffs could do more harm than good. See, these economists, they're a skeptical bunch. They love their charts and graphs, and they're quick to point out that tariffs are like a hidden tax. Sure, they make foreign goods more expensive, but guess who ends up paying the price? That's right, folks, you and me. They warn that tariffs could lead to higher prices on everything from cars to avocados. Remember that morning cup of coffee you love? Yeah, that could get pricier too. And it's not just consumers who'll feel the pinch. Businesses that rely on imported goods could see their costs skyrocket. That means smaller profits, and in some cases it could even lead to job losses. These economists, they're not just whistling Dixie. They point to history, to times when tariffs have backfired, leading to economic downturns and trade wars. They argue that tariffs are a blunt instrument, a sledgehammer where a scalpel is needed. They worry that Trump's tariff tango could disrupt global trade and ultimately hurt the very people he's claiming to help. Section 5. Tariffs Through Time. A Historical Ballad. Tariffs, my friends, are as American as apple pie and, well, more tariffs. They've been around since the founding of our nation. Our founding fathers, those wig-wearing revolutionaries, slapped tariffs on British goods to give American businesses a fighting chance. And it wasn't just us. Throughout history, countries have used tariffs to protect their own industries, raise revenue, and even punish their rivals. Remember the Boston Tea Party? That whole shebang was sparked by tariffs on tea. But here's the thing about tariffs, folks. They often lead to retaliation. One country raises tariffs, and the other one retaliates with tariffs of their own. It's a vicious cycle that can escalate into a full-blown trade war, where everyone loses. In the early 20th century, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930 raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods. The result? A global trade war that deepened the Great Depression. Not exactly a shining moment in economic history, folks. Section 6. The price we pay. Tariffs hit consumers and businesses. Let's talk Turkey, folks, or should I say let's talk tariffs. Because those tariffs Trump slapped on goods from Mexico, Canada, and China, yeah, they're going to hit us right in the pocketbook. Think about all the stuff we buy that comes from those countries. Cars, clothes, electronics, even the avocados in your guacamole. Those prices are all expected to go up. And for businesses that rely on imported goods, it's even worse. They're facing higher costs, which could lead to lower profits, job losses, and even higher prices for consumers. Take the auto industry, for example. Many car parts are made in Mexico and Canada. Those tariffs mean car companies have to pay more to import those parts. And who do you think they're going to pass those costs on to? That's right, folks, the car buyers. And it's not just the auto industry. Farmers are worried about losing access to key export markets. Construction companies are facing higher prices for lumber and steel. The list goes on and on. The bottom line is this: tariffs are like a hidden tax that we all end up paying. And while Trump talks about bringing back jobs and boosting the economy, the reality is much more complicated. Section 7. America First, Tariffs Second, the politics of trade. Now let's be honest, folks, tariffs aren't just about economics, they're about politics too. And Trump, well, he's a master of using tariffs as a political tool. He's made it clear that he sees tariffs as a way to force other countries to give the US better deals on trade. He's used tariffs to pressure Mexico to crack down on illegal immigration. He's slapped tariffs on China in an attempt to get them to change their trade practices, and he's even used the threat of tariffs to try and get NATO allies to increase their defense spending. For Trump, tariffs are all part of his America First agenda, putting American interests first, even if it means ruffling a few feathers along the way. And you know what? It's a message that resonates with a lot of Americans, especially those who feel left behind by globalization. But here's the thing about playing hardball with tariffs: it can easily backfire. Other countries aren't just going to roll over and let Trump dictate the terms of trade. They have their own interests to protect, and they're likely to retaliate with tariffs of their own. Section 8. Trade war drums, the sound of retaliation. Remember those trade wars I mentioned earlier, folks? The ones that can tank the global economy? Well, buckle up, because Trump's tariff tango has got the whole world on edge, and the drums of trade war are beating louder than ever. As soon as those tariffs were announced, our trading partners didn't just send strongly worded letters. Oh no, they pulled out their own tariff cannons and aimed them right back at us. Mexico, our amigos to the south, they slapped retaliatory tariffs on American cheese, bourbon, and pork. That's right, folks, no more tequila for us, and they're coming after our barbecue. Canada, those polite folks up north, they targeted American steel, aluminum, and even maple syrup. I guess those pancakes are going to have to go without their sweet friend. And China? Well, let's just say they're not messing around. They've targeted American soybeans, cars, and airplanes with tariffs. That's a whole lot of American exports caught in the crossfire. This tit-for-tat tariff battle, it's not good for anyone. It disrupts global supply chains, raises prices for consumers, and creates uncertainty in the global economy. It's like a game of economic chicken, and no one wins in a head-on collision. Section 9. A world out of tune, tariffs, and global harmony. So folks, where does this all leave us? With a global economy that's a little out of tune, to say the least. Trump's tariff tango, it's certainly shaken things up. But whether it's for better or worse, well, that's still up for debate. One thing's for sure, tariffs have a way of disrupting global trade. They create uncertainty, increase costs, and can even lead to retaliation. And in a world that's increasingly interconnected, where goods and services flow freely across borders, that's not a good thing. Some argue that Trump's tariffs are a necessary evil, a way to protect American jobs and interests. Others warn that they're a dangerous gamble, a step towards protectionism and trade wars that could harm the global economy. The truth is, it's probably a bit of both. Tariffs can be a legitimate tool when used strategically and sparingly, but when they're used as a weapon, a blunt instrument to bludgeon other countries into submission, they can do more harm than good. The world is watching, folks, waiting to see how this tariff tango plays out. Let's hope it doesn't turn into a full-blown trade war, because, in the end, nobody wins in a trade war, except maybe the comedians, because, let's be honest, folks, this whole thing is pretty darn entertaining. From a safe distance, of course.